Whenever we look at verses in the Bible, it's essential for us, we've been talking lots about this, to remember that these verses were written in a unique context, right? At a specific time and place, and they have a historical background to them. And they weren't written in English, right? The Bible wasn't written originally in English. So it's good for us to pause for a moment and to dig into why these verses were written. So to do that, I actually want us to rewind a little bit in the book of Matthew. And there are these great series of illustrations. Do we have those up here, Caleb? I love these. You can find these from the Bible Project. It's led by theologian Tim Mackey and his crew. And you can catch these little informative videos on YouTube or on their website. And they actually go down and they break down the bigger stories of the Bible and the individual books. I've got this great poster for the book of Matthew. And what I want to do is we're going to zoom in and focus in on chapters 14 to 20. Here we go. We're going to focus in on those ones just really quickly. As we flip through the book of Matthew, we notice that there are different viewpoints on what the Messiah was meant to do upon arrival. Right, so you have the Pharisees, the religious leaders of the time. They thought the Messiah was going to roll in like this military big shot, right? And he's going to conquer and trounce the outsiders, right? That's what they thought was going to happen. But surprise, surprise, right? Jesus had other plans, right? Jesus arrives, he enters in on the scene, and he actually dives into prophecies like from Isaiah chapter 53, talking about how the Messiah is going to actually undergo suffering and how he's going to be a servant. Right, this wasn't what the Pharisees or some of even the disciples had in mind for how God's kingdom was going to shape up. And then we can zoom into chapters 18 to 20. And this is where Jesus, he paints this beautiful portrait of this like inside out, upside down kingdom where our values don't always line up with God's values. Right? He talks about how we're to receive honor is actually by serving, that we need to embrace forgiveness. And he gives this wild concept about gaining true wealth by giving it away. It's like this whole flipped universe where the people that we think are last actually end up first, and the ones that we consider first actually end up last. Right? And it's this kingdom that thrives on qualities like forgiveness and humility and love and transformation. Right? Not greed or hostility or these religious, rigid rules that the Pharisees were trying to put on the people. So with these two differing visions of what the kingdom should be like, a plot forms to put an end to Jesus. And then we fast forward to the end of the book of Matthew, after Jesus' resurrection. There is this pivotal moment that we just read in the Great Commission that captures the transfer of a mission that would shape the early church and influence the whole entire world. Right before this, the disciples had witnessed Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, learning from him and experiencing his power. Yet, can you imagine what they maybe felt like in the aftermath of the resurrection? Just think about that for a moment. They probably had a sense of awe, right? Like, my goodness, look at what we've just witnessed. But there must have been a little bit of confusion, right? Because they thought this wasn't going to kind of land like this. And then maybe some uncertainty about the future. And it was in this moment that Jesus appears to them with this declaration of authority. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me, Jesus says about himself. Right? He is not just a teacher. He is not just a prophet. He is the risen Lord with ultimate authority. Right? Jesus is the risen Lord. After making that powerful declaration, Jesus doesn't just do like a mic drop, he doesn't just walk away. No, he hands over something monumental, something that is supposed to spread like wildfire. Right? He is giving his disciples a mission that is as big as the whole world. He wants them to go out there and bring folks from all the corners of the earth into God's family. to fully immerse them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Right? And baptism isn't just like a quick dunk in some water, right? It's actually an invitation to a life transformed by soaking up his teachings and putting them into real, everyday action. So picture this. Jesus is saying, hey, you guys, you've seen my love. You've seen my saving grace, my power to transform lives, and it's changed your world, right? Well, now it's your turn to carry this story forward. It's like kind of like being handed a golden ticket into this incredible narrative where God's kingdom is the main theme. And this kingdom is like nothing you've ever seen before. It's built on a foundation of forgiveness. It's powered by humility and love, and it's about radical transformation. Jesus is passing on the torch, saying, keep this momentum going. This is what he's telling his disciples. Keep extending those invitations and let everyone know that there is a spot for them in the kingdom of grace and redemption and life-altering love. He's also letting them know that the Great Commission isn't this solo endeavor, right? It's actually this collective call for the entire church. Every member has a role in sharing the gospel and expressing God's love. And our shared commitment to this shows that we're not alone, right? It's amazing to be on mission with other people. We're a global family of believers, each contributing uniquely to the life-changing message of Jesus. When Tim and I joined Burnett, we're almost 2.5 years ago now, it was right in amidst the challenges of the pandemic, if you remember. Reopening our church doors brought change, didn't it? There was new faces, there was new staff, and we had this like resilient core group of individuals who navigated the bumps of COVID. You guys navigated it with this like determined commitment to Burnett and to the story that God wanted to tell here. We're so thankful for you guys. Our initial goals when we resumed in-person services was to get Sunday service back up and running, to get our kids' ministry back up and running, because a church, a church is thriving when there's kids. It is really, really important because the kids it shows that we have this testament that we're building something towards the future, doesn't it? And so then we worked on relaunching our youth programming as well. So we started at the youngest and just worked our way up. And so my first year on staff was a really involved experience. It was a little wild. I was pastoring our kids and our youth and figuring out sisterhood, our women's ministry, doing some admin, communications, the website, social media, and I had some teaching responsibilities. It was a little wild. But as our staff expanded with some really incredible talents, my role has evolved now. We now have these specialized team members like Quinn and MJ and Claria taking on some really good specific roles. And that's now freed me up, and I've now been given the runway to focus my energies on some of our adult ministries, which I'm really looking forward to. So as we've been brainstorming, me, Tim, and Jordan, of just what this next role and season might look like, Tim, over the summer, invited me to serve as the pastor of discipleship, missions, and communications, which I'm really looking forward to taking on this new role here. And so I kind of want to let you guys in on the inside scoop of what that might look like, if that's okay, so just so you guys know what's going on with us as a staff as well. So first, I'm going to be overseeing our communication efforts. We have this amazing group of volunteers that we've gathered together over the summer that are going to be a part of our admin and communications team. Admin is super important in any organization. If you don't have good admin, it's really hard, right? So we have some great people in place for this. They're going to help out with our website and social media and some database and some email correspondence. We're also going to be launching a care team out of there that's going to be reaching out to you guys periodically throughout the year just to see how we can better support and care for you. So I'm going to be leading this group of volunteers. Additionally, my role is going to involve discipleship initiatives. I'm going to dive into our online pathway material, which I'm really looking forward to, and seeing how we can help enhance some of the services that we have for our adults. My aim as your pastor is to see you fall deeply in love with Jesus, right? And just see your lives transformed. And we know that church attendance patterns have shifted. Life is a little more complicated than it was 20, 30 years ago. And so we want to get creative of how we can get this information out to you. We're going to explore some creative avenues for some spiritual growth, covering topics like our core beliefs, helping you with some coaching. We just want you to foster this vibrant relationship with Jesus and with other people here in our church. And then I think you can't separate discipleship from mission, because the good news only comes to us on its way to somebody else. And so with Burnett's post-COVID relaunch, we had the opportunity to really take some time now to reassess our approach to missions, both locally and globally. Initially, like I said, we were just trying to reestablish those core ministries at the beginning, and now we're dedicating this time to prayer, reflection, research, to determine the future direction of Burnett's missions, both local and on a global scale. And for me, global missions, I feel like it's a little bit in my bones. This fire ignited for me in my youth. I can remember I was watching a World Vision commercial, and this was before the 24-hour news cycle, before social media, right? Before we could really actually see how really the rest of the world lived as a young person. And I can remember watching this commercial that had come on and welling up with tears and rushing to my dad, deeply moved, because I realized at that point as a 7-year-old that kids didn't live like I lived in the rest of the world. When I was growing up, I attended public school until about high school, and then I went to this smaller Christian high school. And at my graduation banquet, there's 28 of us, they decided at our graduation banquet to surprise us. So we had to let them know what was our chosen profession after high school. And they were going to surprise us when we walked in. There was this goofy caricature of us on the wall with our chosen profession in behind us. Okay, this is a bad idea. So teachers, just take note. This is a bad idea. Because this is a lot of pressure to put on your grade 12 students to have a chosen profession. It's the worst question for all the grade 12 students of oh, what are you doing next year? What do you want to do, right? It was awful because I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I had a passion for Jesus. I knew that I wanted to be a part of something that was bigger than myself. And so I knew I was going to YWAM with a Youth with a Mission down in Oregon in September because I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I thought I'd go do that. And so when I walked into that banquet, there was a globe in behind mine. And I really felt like that was a prophetic nudge. I spent 3 years as a missionary with YWAM, not just 6 months. I had the privilege of serving alongside local and foreign missionaries in countries like India and China and New Zealand, and I got to go to Hong Kong. It was really amazing, an amazing experience. I always said YWAM messed me up for Jesus in all the right ways. Following my YWAM experience, life led me to meet Tim and to start a family and to work in the corporate world. And then eventually we found ourselves here at Burnett, and we cherish you guys very deeply. But despite all of the twists and turns, my zeal for global missions has never wavered. I had the opportunity to work for Compassion Canada for 3 years prior to Layla arriving on the scene. And I've been given this opportunity to help teach over Zoom these fierce Ugandan female church leaders alongside Krista Penner and the Feb Pacific team. It's been amazing. I've done it a couple times over this last year, and I just absolutely love it. I've also been able to go back to India a couple of times, and my last time was in 2018, and I got to go with Layla. And earlier this year, I introduced you to Mutu and his wife. I don't know if you remember. If you were here for that message, I think I have a picture of them. These are my friends Mutu and Kavitha. They've dedicated 26 years of their lives to serving with YWAM in India, their homeland. My path first crossed with Mutu in 1998 when I went to Bangalore for the first time. Thanks to the wonders of Facebook, we've been able to stay connected. And they invited me back in 2018 to teach at their School of Urban Missions and then to join them with their work in India. I can't help but stand in awe of their relentless determination that Muthu and his team exhibit. They operate with this fierce sense of urgency. In India, the needs are vivid, right? They're tangible. You walk outside your front door and you see them. Right here in Canada, we have a little perspective shift, right? Our needs tend to be more internal, right? Maybe happening more behind closed doors. Yet Muthu and his crew, they've been in Mumbai now for 6 years. They served 20 years in southern India, and then 6 years ago they moved to Mumbai. And I quickly wanted to give you a glimpse into what they've done in 6 years with their team of 37 full-time volunteer staff. So I think I have a list here. They sent me some videos that you'll see playing in behind, but 3 times a year they have 3 different schools that they run to help train up local missionaries and Christian leaders. They have a mobile bus that is taking education to children, to homeless children in 2 different locations. They have a mobile salon that they offer haircuts to kids and adults that are living in slums and under overpasses. Can you just imagine that amazing touch of care, getting a haircut? Like, that's a beautiful thing. They have food trucks. We love food trucks here at Burnett. That go across 3 different locations that are serving up meals. They have an ambulance service that helps people when they're in dire needs. They have a destitute care program that offers free medical services. They're literally going into the slums and binding up the wounds of people that are in the slums. Like, talk about being the hands and feet of Jesus. They have tuition centers where they're serving over 200 underprivileged kids. They have 6 tailoring centers where they're teaching women to help create their own income streams. They have a visually challenged support center where they're helping people who are blind. They do relief work. When fires and pandemics and floods hit, they're right there on the ground, and they can jump in and offer support. They do church networking, church planting. They've planted 7 churches so far, and they want to plant another 9 by 2025. And then they've just jumped into doing rural church construction, helping people outside of Mumbai have a place to worship. Wow, 6 years. That's amazing. Muthu and his incredible team are the embodiment of love in action. They see a need and they move. And I'm amazed by the work they do. Right? It is exhilarating to be connected to our global church family, to see what's going on in the rest of the world. So when Tim offered me to transition into this new role, I was thrilled to be able to lean into this passion of mine. In this next season, again, we're just going to be taking some time to pray and research and make a plan for how we can partner with our global church. And as we connect with believers worldwide, it's really important for us to approach this partnership collaboratively, right? Because it's not about us coming in as the West, right, and imposing how we do things into another nation. But it's really about sharing strengths and wisdom together. My call with these sisters in Uganda, it's amazing. We mutually learn from each other and we draw inspiration. I think the first time I got on to teach, they said, Sister Melissa, we knew that you were coming on to teach, and we just did a 24-hour prayer initiative at our church, like I think the night before I got on to speak. And so we took time to pray. We took some hours to pray for you and your family and your church. That's amazing. Church, we've had a church in Uganda, a group of women praying for us here. Like, that is a beautiful thing. I'm just so inspired by their unwavering commitment. So our partnership with the global church needs to be about addressing needs together and making the good news tangible. Next week, Tim is going to dive into local missions and what that means for us right here. But for today, I just wanted to communicate our dedication to this shared mission. Just like each of us, that we have a primary, a specific, and an immediate calling, so does every church. Right? We're currently navigating and trying to discover what that calling looks like for us in terms of mission, whether it's close to home or on a global scale. We believe we have a unique role in the Great Commission. The Great Commission, it carries this profound promise. Jesus himself assures us. He says, I am with you always to the very end of the age. His presence is unwavering, it's enduring, and it is steadfast. Picture this. Risen from the dead, Jesus stands before his disciples, and he's not just sharing a directive with them, right? But he is promising his assurance of his enduring companionship. It's a promise that holds profound implications for us. The words, I am with you always, offer comfort in moments of doubt, strength in time of weakness, and unwavering courage to face adversity. So for us in our lives, when the task seems insurmountable, whatever you're doing, Christ's abiding presence becomes our anchor. It gives us the confidence that isn't based on our own abilities, but on his unfailing faithfulness. And when doubts arise, we can hold fast to the fact that he has given us this promise that I am with you always. With you always. So as we stand at the crossroad of purpose, promise, and partnership, our call is clear to love God, love our neighbors, utilize our gifts and our immediate callings for God's transformative work that he wants to do in this world. Right? The Great Commission is the driving force behind that. And we need to remember that we don't walk this journey alone. Right? We need to cling to that unwavering promise that I am with you always with each step. Christ is our guide and he is our strength and the light that illuminates our path. We need to embrace this mission, knowing that Christ is at work, knowing that he is at work even when we cannot see it. I'd like to invite the band back up at this time. Before we sing our last song, I want to give you guys a call to action, to kind of put this all into practice for you right now. First is take some time this week to reflect. Consider how your gifts align with sharing God's love and transforming lives. Take some time this week to pray, to dedicate a moment each day to praying for those that are serving globally and locally, asking for strength and wisdom. Connect with others, right? We need to be showing the world kindness. We need to remember that it was Christ's kindness that led us to redemption. How are we showing that kindness in the world right now, today? And lastly, partner with us. Stay tuned because we're going to have more information about joining the transformative efforts here at Burnett. So let's take these additional steps, sharing God's love and resting assured that Christ is making a way, that he is fulfilling his promise, and that we are going to see miracles as his love shines in the darkness. Let me just take a moment to pray for us. Jesus, we worship you. We're so thankful for how you are at work globally. God, we lift up our global brothers and sisters. We lift up churches all around the world. We lift up churches that are meeting right here in Maple Ridge today as all of us partner together in the Great Commission to show the world of your love, Jesus. You love us. Let us sit in that truth today, God, and the promise that you will be with us. Jesus, we say, we love you. Help us to be people of action. Help us to be people that are bearing the fruit of the Spirit so that people will be drawn to you, Holy Spirit. Give us wisdom. Help us to see. We give all of this to you, Jesus, in your name.